has ordered IEBC to furnish ODM party with a complete voters register for Kibra constituency. ODM had gone to court seeking to have IEBC compelled to avail the voters register complete with the names of the voters, their phone numbers, as well as national ID card numbers. ODM had expressed concerns that the voter register had been manipulated. The court order came less than 24 hours before the Kibra voters got to the ballot to choose their new member of parliament. Right, and let's cross over now to talk to our political affairs reporter, Jeff Kirui, who is joining us from the Nairobi City County Inspectorate Training College, which is the tallying center for the Kibra constituency by-election. And good evening, Jeff. You've been on the ground since, in Kibra since morning. And how can you describe the situation on the ground? What is going on at the tallying center in terms of preparations for tomorrow?
Well, very good evening, Sharon. Indeed, this will be the main tallying center for all the 183 polling stations. All the results, the Form 35As will be compiled here before the now results are announced. But what exactly is happening here is that the distribution of the polling materials, the ballot boxes, the ballot papers are now being distributed to the various polling stations before the exercise kicks off tomorrow. And the polling stations will be opened at 6 in the morning, and it will be expected that the voting will be closed by 5 in the evening, and then now thereafter the counting of results will begin. Transmission of results for this particular by-election will not be transmitted electronically as it is with the presidential election. All the presiding officers and their DPOs will be required to physically carry the Form 35A to the main tallying center. Thereafter now, that is where the counting will begin and the results will start streaming in. This particular by-election will involve 24 candidates. Of course, there are 7 independent candidates and the remaining ones are political parties. And to note is that there are 4 candidates who will be battling it out here. They have been neck-to-neck campaigning in Kibra. Among them is ODM's Imran Okoth. We have ANC's Eliud Owalo. There is Ford Kenya's Hamis Butichi and Jubilee's McDonald Mariga. And interesting to note is that McDonald Mariga will not be voting for himself by virtue that he is not a registered voter in Kibra. And of course, that means that he will not be participating in this particular by-election by casting his vote either to himself or to another candidate. And of course, also tomorrow, we expect these particular candidates to vote in their respective polling stations. And one of them is Ford Kenya's candidate who told me earlier on that he'll be casting his vote at Lindi Mosque. And of course, the ODM party leader Raila Odinga will be casting his vote here at Kibra as well. And we'll be waiting to be given the details about the time exactly when the former Prime Minister will be casting his vote for this preferred candidate. Of course, one might argue that he'll be voting for ODM's Imran Okoth. Another issue here, again, Sharon, is that there were 36 polling stations which were relocated because of the ongoing KCSE exams. And those voters will be affected is the number stands at 27,000 voters will be affected by that relocation. And some have argued that perhaps that might affect the turnout tomorrow, but we wait to see. Of course, we'll be here from 6 in the morning to bring you how the exercise will be. Security here is very tight. All the ballot materials are being escorted by security officers, and those particular material will spend the night in their respective polling stations under lock and key, and security officers will be there till the morning when the agents will open those ballot boxes and verify indeed that nothing has been tampered with, and then now the exercise begins. Sharon.
Right, Jeff. And the High Court today ordered the IEBC to furnish the ODM party with a complete voters register for Kibra constituency. Of course, this in just under 24 hours before the voters go to the ballot. Do we know if this has happened?
Well, according to IEBC, they had argued that the exercise will take at least 7 to 10 days, and what ODM was asking for was unrealistic. Of course, what ODM was demanding was that they needed the register plus the ID numbers of the voters. They needed the other than the ID numbers of the voters, they needed also the phone numbers of the voters so that they can verify that indeed these are the real voters in Kibra constituency. They argue that the voter register had been tampered with, and that order was granted by the High Court judge, that is John Macau, saying that the IEBC needs to furnish ODM with that register. But again, the order cautioned that confidential details of the voters should not be given, e.g. the mobile numbers and any other information that might be injurious to the voters. And of course, we wait to see what exactly will be the response of IEBC regarding the same issue, but it might form a basis of contesting the results of this particular by-election in court. Sharon.
Maybe very briefly before I let you go, Jeff, because ODM had allegations of, rigging being planned. What have we seen as the plans for transmission? How will the results of the votes be transmitted?
Well, the transmission of this, unlike the presidential election, which is the transmission is electronic, this one, basically, it means that all the presiding officers from all the 183 polling stations will have to carry their Form 34As to the tallying center. Thereafter, now, the compilation will happen there, and then from there, the results will be released by of course, the returning officer, who in this case is Madam Beatrice Muli. So the results will be carried. The Form 34As will be taken manually to the tallying center, unlike the presidential election where it was transmitted electronically. So perhaps this is one of the ways to just give that, to satisfy the need of all those political parties who have cast a doubt on the electoral process, as well as dispelling the doubts that this process might, of course, not be free and fair. But as it stands now, everything will be done manually until the tallying center, where now the results will be broadcasted as announced by the returning officer.
Right.